Okay, everybody, we'll get started. So we've got a whole panel here now of experts on various models of desexing. We have, as you know, the whole range there, and the reason why Denise is up here was, although we've mentioned about the concept of a fixed clinic, which Jeff also has, we haven't really discussed a fixed clinic in depth and the benefits of having a fixed clinic as opposed to a mobile clinic, or the disadvantages, whatever, about a fixed clinic that is actually running as a community clinic. So we thought it might be good just also to have just a quick overview from Jeff and Denise about, you know, what they think a community clinic has in terms of pros and cons as a fixed clinic and how it basically works. And then we'll open it up to you to sort of ask questions, and then we're going to do a bit of planning about what's needed in our own cities and shires, which model would be best, what we think we really need to do. So, Denise, would you be able to just mention what you think are the benefits of having a fixed community clinic?
Okay. Sorry, can you hear me? Yeah. Joy, I was only observing today, and Joy just threw this at me, but we've got a community vet clinic down at Coomberbar. We also have one at Ipswich and one at Lena Valley in Hobart. And I guess when we sort of went into this was looking at a community vet clinic being there permanently, so that it was there for the community to use. And as well as desexing, we felt that that by offering reduced prices for other veterinary services, it was another way of helping people stay reunited with their animals, because, as you know, Jeff was saying, you'll have people come through who don't have the financial means of paying for you know, if an animal becomes ill or has an accident, so then their only options are usually surrendering to a shelter or euthanizing their pet. So I guess for us, it's twofold, having a facility there for the community to use, you know, for when that unexpected illness comes up, and then also to help with desexing as well. So I like the idea of it being established and it's set there, it's forever. We try to make, well, all our clinics are sustainable, so you never have to worry about going, you know, broke, and it's not there for the people. So we've made it so that it will be there forever and ever for the community to use.
So can you just explain how we make it sustainable?
Yeah, well, we offer all veterinary services right through from, with a focus on desexing, orthopedics, everything that a normal vet clinic offers. We're now open, the one down at Coomberbar is open 7 days a week, midweek until 9 p.m, so it's there at all times for the community to access. We also have payment plans to help people who, our prices are fairly low in comparison to other vet clinics, but even at that reduced price, sometimes people still can't afford it. So we'll sit down and negotiate with them, and we will then offer payment plans. But at the end of the day, if they can't, there's nothing that they can afford, we will treat the animal for them. But I think is when we did start it, that it would have to always be sustainable, because we didn't have the funds to run it at a loss. And with our one at Ipswich, after about 6 months, it started making a profit and covering all its costs. So I think for us, that would be, like I say, we've got 3 of them now, and they're all working really well, and we manage them so they'll be there forever and available for the community to have, you know. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Denise. And Jeff, do you want to make a comment? Because you have fixed clinics as well.
Yeah, I mean, my fixed clinic in Denver is my cash cow, and it pays for the things that I do. I think, you know, you can just about anywhere in the world have a fixed clinic that's profitable. It's not that hard to be profitable as a veterinarian. And I think that's the way you subsidize things. Now, I'm a for-profit all the way. I use my profit for nonprofit work, and that's my own personal decision. You know, having said that, what's the cost of a distemper vaccine here? It's like $2 in the States, you know, and I'm charging $15. A rabies shot 60 cents, and I'm charging $15. Well, you know, that's profit. You know, the veterinary profession as a whole, you know, once again, we complain about humane organizations and we don't help them, we complain about the prices, although, the stats speak for themselves. 92% of those people that they're trying to help have never been to a vet to begin with. And that's true everywhere in the world. It's always 80 to 90% of those people that we work with have never been to a vet. Their animal's never been to a vet. So we're not really cutting into those vets' profits. I think we have to get across to the vet profession. They need to understand, as a profession, that if they don't step up and do some of this nonprofit work or charitable work, however you want to view it, then what's going to stop humane societies from doing it? And when they open up clinics, it may cut into their bottom line because they are probably going to pull some clients that we're going to have, And I guess sometimes you make your bed, you have to lie in it.
Okay. Denise?
When we first started our one down at Coomba, that was our first community vet clinic, and the local vets were really, really, really angry. And but they said that we would take away their business. And since then, I think there's been about a lot more clinics have started up. We haven't seen any clinics at all go out of business, and we've had one franchise who's actually bought up 14 of the local clinics. So from a business point of view, they wouldn't be doing that if they weren't profitable. So I think it's just an adjustment thing for vets who've never had to look at a community vet clinic concept. And like I say, on the Gold Coast they're thriving, and they're even putting up more vet clinics. So it's not true that we take away business from them, but it's just, I guess, a perception they have.
It is a competition thing, and I don't know how it is here, but in the States, most of the groups are nonprofits that don't pay taxes. And I think, the average American doesn't like paying taxes, so therefore, as a for-profit, I have to pay taxes, and if you're not paying taxes, that gives you a competitive edge. That's not necessarily true, and a lot of reasons, because I can offer a lot more than a lot of the other clinics. But having said that, when I first started working in Grand Junction, which is a small community in Colorado, one of the local vets actually came in during my surgery day and said, "You're taking money out of my family's mouth. I'm not going to be able to send my kid to school, to college." And this is on his way up to skiing in the middle of the week. And I'm driving a $300 clunker, and he's driving a $60,000 car. And I'm thinking, whatever, dude, goodbye. And 10 years later, he had 3 clinics in the same community. He went from 1 to 3. So, I don't, to my knowledge, I've never put anyone out of business. And I honestly believe by doing this kind of work, we actually enhance the value of animals overall, and everyone benefits. It's the whole ship being raised.
So the other thing too that's a really a benefit for local vets is that previous to us being there, when they had clients come through who weren't able to afford the necessary treatment for their animal, their only option then was to euthanize. So now we offer them, they can be the good guys to say, well, look, if you take it to the Animal Welfare League, they'll be able to help you with it. So it gets them out of the predicament of having to tell some lovely old couple there with their only reason for living there that there's an option for them now. Instead of having to, euthanize their pet, take it to the Animal Welfare League, and we get lots of referrals from other clinics. So having us there for them, it's a benefit.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, we'll open up to questions, and can we get a couple of volunteers from down the back who wouldn't mind going over and getting a mic from Mark and taking the mics around? Thank you very much. We need 2, please, because we've got Silvana and Denise up here. So, okay, we'll start with the back, please. Thank you very much.
It's Kevin, is it? Question for Kevin. Do you have any issue with animals going to your van, your desexing van, and not getting collected at the end of the day?
And not getting?
Collected?
No, they've all been collected.
Oh, so you don't have any abandoning animals there?
No.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Other questions? Jackie?
It's more, I guess, a comment. And I think there's a third model that you also need to consider. And obviously, a community clinic does 2 things. One, it provides the low-cost veterinary care for those people who can't afford to have their animal treated. It's also the desexing. And, we saw a fantastic example from Moreton Bay, the decrease in euthanasia is associated with a really concentrated desexing campaign. And I think that's what we're all about, decreasing the number of animals that don't need to be euthanised. And if you look at what a community clinic can do and how many animals they can desex, and that, for example, in Queensland we've got 1,400 veterinarians that do small animal work, probably 6,000 to 7,000 around Australia. If every one of those just did 4 to 5 low-cost desexings, then it's a low-cost way. You don't have to build the bricks and mortar. And Mark, if you could just put up that picture for me. I've just got a slide, because I think we need to get smarter about our resources. So this is data that we're going to show from a talk tomorrow, which shows across Australia it's remarkably constant when the kittens are coming in. And I guess you working in shelters know that there's that start of the kitten tsunami in September. And we have to be picking the postcodes that we know are the problems where the large numbers of kittens are coming from, and be starting a desexing blitz. And I believe that the most powerful way will be if we can use all those veterinarians in private practice to have maybe, once a month you have low cost, which is subsidised, and it may be offering it for $10 or $20. And I think that it will be quite a mind change for municipal councils and some shelters to think about putting their resources into the community to stop the animals coming in. But I just make a case for looking at another model as well for many communities, which is liaising with the veterinarians. And I think as the program progresses, where we've got graduates really aware of the massive problem and much more on board, then it will start to take momentum.
Yeah. And Jackie, that's true, because one of the other benefits of having our clinic, and Jeff's obviously too, was because we would do early age desexing, and we constantly finding in regional areas there'll be no people who can do or will do early age desexing, not even, to sort of help the rescue groups. So that is a big issue. If we could just address and get all these vets out there that are ready to do early age desexing, knowing how safe it is, then we would not have that as major an issue either. So that would be true.
I think that's a really great idea. The problem for us at National Desexing Network has always been communicating with the vets, and we don't have a big budget to send them letters all the time. So we find that they don't respond to our letters very eagerly. So I think that is a fantastic idea, and I would love to see that happen. But maybe it should be the council who approaches the vets to do that. So maybe we can do something with councils and make them talk to them, to the vets or the shelter or something.
Yes, and we've actually got a project, I don't think Sibel's here at the moment, planned to actually get a targeted marketing message, particularly for cat people. There's some data from the RSPCA in New South Wales, I believe, working with Blacktown, where they have shown that where the municipal council subsidised desexing, that if they put $100 into subsidising the desexing, so the client only paid half, it actually saved them $200 in the shelter because of the decrease in animals coming in. It didn't show the same benefit for cats, and I believe that's because we need to change our marketing message and really get that clear to people. Don't have the spay delay. It's not good for the kids, not good for the cat, and the people who are feeding cats who don't perceive they own them. But what we'd like to do is to show for cats, if you get the marketing message right and you get the infrastructure right and blitz them starting in April, if you spend $100 in the community, what does that save the pound, the council? What does it save the animal welfare or the shelters? Because if we can show again that if you put $100 into the community, it saves you $200 in the shelter. It's a change in mindset about how we deploy our resources.
Absolutely, and I think it does need to involve, local governments are there to represent communities. Communities don't want to see their cats and dogs that are abandoned being killed, so therefore it's logical that, local governments should and are getting involved. And if we see that as a growing trend and we all share the load, animal welfare and local governments and veterinarians help a little bit along the way as well, I think this is really highly solvable. But it's about getting that cooperation and communication going, and communication is a very big issue that often there hasn't been a willingness to communicate, or maybe they're just, involved in what they're doing and not necessarily, therefore, have the capacity to communicate very much because they're not on computers and they're not on phones. They're in their surgery. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's...
Yes.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Sarah Elliott Warren from New Zealand, and we've actually tried a number of different desexing models in New Zealand. I'm up here because I have an awful lot to do with our mobile desexing caravan, but we've tried the vet June through September as well. We've had a couple of situations where cities have applied for and received large desexing grants, and I actually ran a campaign, I think 2 years ago, for the entire Western Bay of Plenty area, and I basically price fixed it. The vets got a little bit funny about it, but I sent out letters to about 17 vets, which was all of the vets in this region, saying this is the price we want to pay for desexing, this is what we're going to do, it'll be free desexing for the community, we'll organise the bookings, etc, etc. If you want to come on board, please come back and let us know. Of those 17 vets, one came back and said, no, I'm not interested, which I thought was a really good rate considering there was an active SPCA in that area who only used one local vet, and there was a bit of a niggle about the fact that they only used that one vet and everybody else wasn't getting a part of the pie, if you like. We ran that campaign over 2 or 3 months and spent more than we were supposed to, and all of those vets stayed on board at that price long term. In fact, I still use 7 of those vets in my local community, still at that fixed price.
What was the price, Sarah?
We pay $75 for a female spay,
right.
cat this is,
yes.
and $50 for a male, which
yes.
is not rock bottom, but it certainly is a heck of a lot better than the $125 the public were paying.
Yeah.
The other thing that we have done that is in the same sort of vein, where areas that our desexing caravan just won't work because it needs to have a high volume going through, and the branch where it would be going to just can't service that. They haven't got someone who can really get the people on board. We've actually allotted the same amount of money we would spend in a month to a vet in the area. So small towns generally, and these small towns may only have one vet on board in their community. We've allotted the same amount of money over the entire year. And it's been a fabulous model because it's allowed that community to desex proactively throughout the year. The vet and the SPCA worked together to identify the people in their community that needed the help. And they provided free desexing. We prioritised it. We only desexed female animals, so dogs or cats. But it's made a huge difference in a community that had a massive dog problem.
And were they getting doing the $75 sort of rate as well?
No, that we because it was the first time we trialled that model, and it's one that we may look at for the future. We didn't price fix, and we allowed that vet to use their normal pricing.
Right, so they still got 150.
Hoping they would give us a decent price.
They still got 150, or
well, the dog spays were even a lot worse.
Yeah, but the cat spays were how much?
I think we're 105.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
that's not too bad.
Yeah. And the other thing that we have had happening in New Zealand, which is very much that council working alongside us, as a fabulous model, was our Dunedin City Council. 10 years ago, committed to spending $35,000 a year. So basically, an animal control officer's salary. And that money was specifically tagged to desex dogs. Now, reasonably large metropolitan area that would normally have a continual 40 to 50 dogs in their pound at any given time. They've been doing this desexing for 10 years, and they'd be lucky to have 10 dogs in their pound at any given time. They've had very few, if any, puppies born in the city in the past few years because the public know the council are putting money into desexing and they're identifying people proactively. That'd be my dream.
Yes.
For councils to come on board like that would be fabulous.
Can I just say for the record, the literature goes back even into the 70s in places like Saskatchewan and Canada where they had proactive government involvement. And it's always controversial, certainly in the States, when you get government involved in spay neuter or giving money to private sector to do things. But the truth is, every time they've done it, they've made dramatic differences. And what they've realized, it's always the cost benefit. It is much cheaper to spay them, to pay someone even a higher price than I would charge to spay them, than to collect them and kill them and house them. You know, plain and simple. And all the studies have always shown that, always. And there's been numerous studies all over the world done. And there's you know, but it's a matter of trying to, you know, the problem is politicians think very short term, not long term.
Okay. And I know, Jeff, you've been shaking your head at the prices.
I wish I was getting paid what you got. I mean, I'll come anywhere for those prices. Let me know. If you want to pay me $100 a cat, give me 100 of them. I'll get them done in a day.
Come on over next week.
Okay.
That's good money.
Could we have a microphone up here to Sue, please?
It's just a comment, really, but if you think those prices are extreme, the ones that we deal with in the northwest of Western Australia, we get 20% off these, but castration of a dog over 30 kilograms, $379. A spay of a dog over 30 kilograms, $489. Sterilisation of a mature cat, $299. Sterilisation of a rabbit or a ferret, $299.
They drive in gold limousines.
Spay, $22.99. Castrate. Dog vaccination, C5, $129. C3, $109. These we get 20% off that.
Oh my God!
Lucky girl.
Yeah. 3 vaccinations, as you know. So I've got a document here. I'm hoping to get help from the rest of the country.
Well, maybe we need to be working with your councils as well to sort of, but you're right, that has to be addressed by somebody like Jeff who's willing to go in and do the work.
But that's where surely you look for a semi-retired vet in the community who will work for you on an hourly rate.
Well, eventually someone will break or something will happen. And I understand, I mean, your community may not be right for that now, but there's got to be someone that's going to graduate at some point. And, you know, that's a person you might want to offer them $60,000, $80,000 a year to start, you know, even though they might not know what they're doing. But you can send them to me and I'll train them and they'll know what they're doing. But the point is, you know, maybe that's why you do open a community clinic, because it can pay for itself. And you'd be undercutting everybody. And, you know, I mean, I hate to say it, but vets do price fix. You know, it's illegal in the States, but everyone knows what everyone else is getting paid in every small community. And they don't vary their prices much. You know, they don't like competition and they don't like rocking the boat, you know, and sometimes you just need one person to break and then everything changes.
Other questions?
Yeah, my name's Tony Talander. I'm from the Veterinary Association. I'm one of the vets who would be a doctor, I think.
And Tony, can I say thank you for coming? It's lovely to have the AVA here. We've always wanted the AVA to come because we need to be talking.
I'm very pleased to be here too.
Thank you.
I have been very impressed with a lot of the presentations too, and I'll be taking my report back to my association, obviously. I think the topic should be away from price a little bit. There is a reason why you pay $120 for vaccination in the northwest of Western Australia. I think vets are really part of this welfare issue. We're right up there in the front line, as are all the associations that help animals too. And I feel, and I'm sure all my colleagues feel, that we ought to be all working together, not apart. And there are a lot of misunderstandings between the private vets and welfare agencies, and at heart we all want to see animals looked after. We don't like to see animals killed. In 40 years I don't think I ever put a cat to sleep that was brought in deserted or left or whatever. I gave them all a home. And I'm typical of most vets, I'm sure. We hate putting animals down, particularly healthy ones. So we're right up there with you. It just so happens that we have to earn a living out of what we do, and we don't get $1 million grants or anything like that. So we operate on a different level. But I think Jackie's idea really rings at home. You have a resource Australia-wide, really, where you've got highly qualified vets with all the facilities, and it's a matter of reinventing the wheel, I guess. Well, not reinventing the wheel, but we should try and use that resource. And I guess that's where the association can come in. We don't represent every vet in Australia. They're not all members of the AVA, but a lot of them are. And if we are prepared to work together, perhaps we can start to get the local vets and councils and welfare agencies working in some coordinated way where, you know, the vets can be part of this. And I love Sarah's story about 17 vets and they were fighting over who'd be doing it. You know, I think that's fabulous if you can work that. Congratulations. And they're charging more than all the other guys too. Look at that. I think that's a very good model, and you know, we're probably a long way from that in a lot of areas, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't have the vision, like Jeff said, to work towards it. And I don't think we can go back on this thing. I'm convinced that, you know, I don't think private vets are going to solve the welfare problem. I think in the old days we probably thought we could, but we know we can't, and fortunately other people have come and are making a difference, and I think most vets would recognise that. So what I'm saying is that I think we should find ways to work together. I don't think welfare agencies and councils want to see private vets disappear off the map. I think we're a part of the community. We provide a service that's very necessary. At least the people who come and pay our bills think so. But on the other hand, I think we have to help those who can't help themselves. And I'd like to, our association perhaps to work a little bit closer with some of the agencies and councils to see if there's something that we can do that helps to bring the groups together a little bit, save you guys some money because we're all set up ready to go, and you know, maybe make a difference to the stray animal problem that is still there. We haven't solved it, not in 40 years since I've been a vet anyway. So yeah, I just thought I'd say those things, and I'll be looking for cooperation, I guess, from various groups involved, and I'm sure the AVA is happy to move along with anything that comes up. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks, Tony. We'll look forward to following up on that. Okay, are there any other questions at this point?
Just following up on the last speaker, we actually work closely with our NZVA in New Zealand. But what Sarah was saying, I don't know whether anywhere this happens in Australia. What happened in Tauranga is not an isolated case. In Dunedin, where they are doing the desexing of dogs, the SPCA there has a voucher system, and we've heard about the voucher system. It's not always picked up, but the local vets were very much against the voucher system, and nobody really wanted to drop their prices. So about 3 of them dropped their prices and were accepting SPCA vouchers. And gradually, the SPCA got the other vets approaching them and saying, well, actually, they'd quite like to contribute as well. And now, I think they've got every vet in Dunedin is actually accepting the SPCA vouchers, which is a low cost, around about the $175 mark. So
that's what the vet receives.
That's what the vet receives. Right. And I think that it is so. I mean, it's worked in 2 places in New Zealand. I think that that's how you stop the price fixing. That's certainly the ongoing business that those vets will get from those families is not to be discounted, because once you've been to a vet and you've made that relationship, if you possibly can, you spend the money. Even families that are very low income will spend the money for 3 children who are weeping over an animal, and once that price has, once that relationship is there, then a lot of the vets are much more accepting of a lesser price when they're brought an animal that is a family pet. And I agree that a lot of vets do have hugely big hearts, and that we don't hear a lot of the lower prices that vets will will accept when they've got cases that are truly needy. So that's our example. Two communities where the vets have basically all agreed to a lower cost to help out with desexing.
Thanks, Robin. From our experience on the Gold Coast, we invited every vet to participate once a year for a month back in 2004. No vets, I had a meeting with the Gold Coast ABA. No vets said that they would lower their prices and participate. We were just asking for it for a month, and they weren't unreasonably low. They were fairly low prices, but they weren't ridiculously low. And but after we offered to do all the free advertising for the month. So after about a month, first year we did it for 2 months because the reaction was just amazing from the public. And so one of the vets did come on board the first year, and the second year we got 5 vets, and the third year we got 10 vets, and the fourth year we got 12 vets. But then after that, there's been a takeover of quite a lot of the vet clinics on the Gold Coast, and they are not participating, which is really disappointing. So it's dropped back now to about 6 vets. And so that's the sort of disappointment that sometimes we face, Tony, that we work really hard trying to get cooperation. And we're not saying vets should carry the load fully. We're just saying let's all share this load and work together and be willing to be part of it. And obviously the council should be part of it too. I mean, we got $20,000 from the state government to support our breeder permit program, and we're gradually giving that out through the $40. They pay $40 and the vet gets another $40, which means the vet gets $80 for a female cat and $65 for a male cat. And there's 10 vets out of 43 clinics on the Gold Coast who have decided they will continue to participate in that, not just for the Desexing month, but that's ongoing for anyone who's got financial difficulties or has on a pension concession card. It's not a general offer. And then when we introduce breeder permits, the other issue is with early age desexing, and I know Jackie's working really hard to overcome this, but I sent out a letter to everybody saying, do you do desexing from 8 to 10 weeks of age? And there's 12 clinics out of 43 clinics that do early age desexing. We then offered a workshop, which Jackie came down to run, and a wet workshop where they could come in and actually have a hands-on experience of doing early age desexing. And 6 vets showed up, and I think 4 of those were vets who already do early age desexing that were just looking to clarify, how safe it was and how they could do it better. So that's the kind of disappointments you get when you're trying to encourage people to participate. And it would be great if we could work together and get more action and conversations going, because we have really tried hard to collaborate over the years a lot of times, and it would be great if we all worked together with the government, local government, council, state government and animal welfare groups working together. I think we can make a difference.
Can I just say, as a veterinarian, and once again, I identify with both sides. I just happen to be, because I worked animal control, and because I came up through humane organizations, I have a slightly different slant on it. But you understand what vets are taught in school. First off, they're not necessarily good business people. No offense, that's just the reality. You're not selected because you're a businessman to go to vet school. And when you get out, you're trying to be a doctor, and I understand that, and it costs money to set up. So if you just look at cars, I mean, you can buy a Volkswagen, and maybe it's a nice Volkswagen, maybe it's a used Volkswagen. You can buy a Mercedes-Benz, I mean, you have different options of where you shop, and I think it's going to be the same thing. Some vets are going to want to practice the highest level of medicine they possibly can, and they're going to have the high-end clientele. There's nothing wrong with that,
No.
I think what happens in my personal, experience is that too many of the vets who may not want to be involved with it and, still degrade or attack what other people are doing. And I think that's where the rub is in one sense, and I think many times the veterinaries look at, once again, as nonprofits or as NGOs as competition. And I don't know how you get past that, other than I'll just point out, I still haven't seen vets go out of business, so either get on board and help out or just go do your thing. And I think if they want to go do their thing, I think you have to be respectful for that and say that's fine. Not everyone's going to want to lower their price or help you out.
Yeah. Okay, are there any other questions? Because we have supposed to be having a little bit of planning time as well. Okay, so now it's over to you. If you could grab another one of those sheets, tick the box for desexing, which is the second one down, Wednesday afternoon. And just write down in the top one what you already have in relation to this topic of what we've just been going through, all the different types of how are we going to get more desexing happening in our communities. What do you already have? What do you think you need? And what are you going to do? Thank you very much to the panel. Could you give them all a round of applause? That was a fantastic session.